I found this old painted dresser for $20 in the thrift store recently, and the striking pink color immediately begged the question, was this a recent attempt to transform an old forgotten furniture piece into a modern dresser for a child's bedroom? And more importantly, what would I find under all these layers of paint? As I examined this mysterious piece more closely in my workshop, its history slowly began to show through the details. Deep grain patterns emerged through the thick layers of paint. This was definitely oak, quite often a hallmark of solid craftsmanship. The style of its casters, the shape of its drawer pulls, and the delicate imperfections of its dovetailed joints all pointed to the early years of the machine age. My best guess is that this piece was manufactured during the early 1900s, but regardless of its specific age, I'd say it's a relic worth restoring. As I remove the original drawer pulls, there's evidence of a third paint color, so I'll need to take a closer look at these pulls in a moment. From the moment I first saw this painted dresser, I knew stripping away the paint on this entire piece would be a process of patience and precision. But the reward was the possibility of uncovering a hidden masterpiece, or at least what was left of it. The journey began with a simple test for any paint that may contain lead. This was done by gently rubbing test swabs soaked in water across all the layers of paint. As expected, the pink and green both tested negative, and as for the third color under the drawer pull, that tested positive, but I believe lead was actually detected in the hardware, not the paint. So I did several more swabs on the drawer pulls, and I believe it was the pulls. With your help through my community page, I tend to agree with many of you that these were likely stamped out from either a thin pot metal, which is a combination of inexpensive metals often including zinc, lead, copper, aluminum, and others. Another possibility is that these are simply just tin, another chemical element which is easily malleable and resistant to corrosion. Many of you have suggested that I learn the skill of electroplating, and thanks to this new arrival, I'm excited to start learning soon. I'm not looking to refinish these casters, but I do want to clean them up, so I'll soak them in vinegar for about 15 minutes before brushing them clean with dish detergent and some warm water. Soon after, I realized that one caster was different from the rest, so I'll keep these, but probably won't put them back on the dresser. This top hangs over about 3 inches on one side and less than 2 inches on the other. Based on the paint lines, this top was likely removed accidentally prior to this piece being painted pink. My guess is, when the top was reattached, most of the nails didn't align with the original holes. This would explain why most of these nails are bent. The back side of this piece does show signs that something was attached to the top, probably a vanity, but the other possibility is that this was actually a washstand. I reversed the clamps to gently pry the top off this dresser. However, I did make one critical mistake towards the end. There was one nail still holding this together, and instead of continuing to pry, I tapped this with a hammer and broke the top in 2 places, one at the joint and one down the middle of the board. It was a mistake I'm not proud of, but I'll glue it back together after I remove the nails. Removing these nails at a slight angle can chip out some wood around the holes, but I'm more concerned with removing the rusty nails and securing the top of this dresser adequately. My furniture restoration skills are slowly getting better with each new project, but when it comes to creating videos like this, I still have so much to learn. In a humble manner, I'm proud of what I've accomplished thus far using this 10-year-old $500 entry-level camera. That's in great part thanks to the skills I've developed by using Skillshare for several years. Skillshare is the largest online learning community by creatives for creatives, with thousands of classes led by industry experts across film, illustration, design, freelance, productivity, and more. Skillshare has helped me take my skills, hobbies, passions, and side hustles to the next level. I love how Skillshare's thousands of classes are structured in simple outlines, making them easy to follow. With expert instructors sharing practical tips, I was able to grow my skills at my own pace. Right now, I'm taking a class on how to use CapCut to turn my long-form videos into short-form content on other social media platforms. It's already helped me grow my business. Think about your own hobbies and unique set of skills. It likely took years of developing your skills to set you up for success. Like me, many of you probably wished for a resource like Skillshare that offers thousands of online classes to help you develop your creative skills faster. So whether you're starting a new venture or just looking to level up your skills, Skillshare can help you unlock your potential. I would encourage you to check out Skillshare to see if they offer classes related to your own specific interests. The first 500 people to use my link in the video description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So get started today, and thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video. The top of this dresser is solid oak, and I found that using the carbide scraper to remove the paint would reduce the amount of chemical paint stripper needed. Also, this is Koda. He's a recent rescue and he's been a great shop companion. I look forward to sharing his story with you in another video very soon. I proceeded to gently clean the hardware with dish detergent and an old toothbrush. The purpose was simply to remove the dirt and oils before making a decision on how to preserve these. I wondered if I should just clear coat this natural patina or spray paint them. I don't want this dresser to look new again once refinished. I'd rather preserve its years of character, so I decided to just clear coat these drawer pulls for now and see how they look at the end. I'll apply this paint stripper to most of the dresser using a disposable chip brush, and after letting it sit for about 30 minutes, I'll remove as much as possible using a plastic scraper, coarse steel wool, brass brushes, mineral spirits, and some shop rags. Oak is notorious for its deep grain patterns and porous wood fibers, making it more susceptible to a deeper and stronger molecular bond with whatever finishes are applied, paint in this case. For that reason, I'll likely need to sand this down enough to ensure that most of the paint that has seeped down deep into the wood grain is removed. I'm not sure I'll be able to remove all the traces of the pink paint, especially in these areas with this ivy-like etching. Some of the pink paint may forever be a part of this piece and its unique story. This dresser will be a gift once refinished. So I reached out to the new owner, and she and I decided that the pink paint embedded in the etching would offer a subtle but unique contrast against the dark oak. With each new project, I continue to try new tools and methods for easier paint removal, like this scrub brush, but brass brushes still seem to work the best for removing the paint in all the hard-to-reach areas. Choosing a task like picking paint with a dental tool, slow, meticulous, and seemingly frustrating, mirrors the kind of patience required often in so many areas of life. It forces you to slow down, to accept that progress will be incremental, and to focus on the small victories. Furniture restoration is almost always a labor of love, particularly when it comes to paint removal. But there is still something deeply satisfying about stripping away layers of paint to rediscover the original beauty beneath. If you've seen my work, then you'll know that I rarely do full restoration projects, and that decision is intentional. First, I recognize that certain refinishing techniques require specialized skills that I may not yet possess. More importantly, I believe in preserving the unique character of each piece. The wear and tear, dings, scratches, cracks, and nail holes serve as a testament to its history, carrying with them the stories of past owners, different homes, and years of use. These imperfections are not flaws. They are tangible evidence of a piece's journey through time. While moving these drawers around, I realized that there were several joints that needed to be re-glued. There are also several areas with minor damage, and for this piece, I won't attempt to perfect it. I just want to make it nice enough to continue using. This likely won't even be used again as a dresser, but rather a statement piece in the dining or living areas, so the drawers won't actually be used daily in the same way they would for a bedroom dresser. I'll still take the time to sand every inch of each of these drawers. Removing the paint from the body of this dresser was something I was dreading, but by using a few brass brushes, I was able to make light work of this, and it took about 2 hours to complete the task. As I prepare to sand this dresser, I find that cleaning my space often gives me a renewed energy to begin the next step. This recent dresser makeover that sits against my wall in the workshop has served me well in the recent months. I've been able to organize all of my sanding tools, and rather than pull everything out, I just grab what I need from each drawer as I work. I'll use both the Surf Prep orbital sander and the 3x4 sander attached to the hose on the shop vac. Because this is mostly solid oak, I can use the more aggressive orbital sander with 80 grit sanding discs. I've removed paint from a lot of furniture pieces, and I wouldn't say that it's impossible to remove all the paint. However, for this piece, I already know that to remove all the paint, it would require someone even more patient than I. When the drawers are pulled out, the drawer fronts drop down, and that's because the sliders are worn on the inside. I'll need to replace some of these altogether, but I discovered a better solution for the rest. Taking the time to make all of these minor repairs on a furniture piece that has little to no monetary value is just a good opportunity to improve your skills without the risk of damaging a more valuable piece. Having the top of the dresser completely removed enabled me to clean out and sand the inside of the dresser. The straight edges of the Surf Prep 3x4 sander are what make this sander stand out among the rest. I discovered while making some of these repairs that some of these pieces just needed to be slid up in the mortise and tenon joints, then resecured with nails and wood glue. I'll also add these drawer stops for the bottom drawer. I've used both power sanders to sand this piece from 80 grit to 150 grit to 220 grit, and for the final steps, I'll use sanding blocks and sponges with 220 grit sandpaper. This should help eliminate most of the swirl marks left behind from the power sanders. I knew it would be unlikely to have a key that would fit these locks, but it's always fun to try. I found one that I thought was close enough to work the lock back and forth, but it wasn't consistent enough to be confident for future use, so I'll just leave these locks the way they are for now. As mentioned, there's often a limit as to how far I'll go on a restoration project when the monetary value is low. For example, for the backside of this dresser, I'll just scuff the green paint and then cover this with a final protective coat. Once sanded, I had a choice to leave the wood in its raw, organic state or enhance it with a rich traditional stain color that would gently mask some of the minor imperfections. I chose the traditional oil-based stain, and I'll protect this with several coats of shellac and wax polish. I understand that to some people, old furniture with these traditional colors is considered boring, but for anyone who's gone through all the trouble of sanding a piece of wood or a complete piece of furniture, they would understand just how satisfying it is to apply a stain that helps enhance the beautiful and natural grain patterns. I'll let the stain dry overnight, and in the morning I'll spend a few hours applying several coats of this clear shellac. Applying Fitty's wax polish with a Scotch-Brite pad and a wax brush will help cut down the glossy sheen of the shellac. It will also add an additional layer of protection to the entire piece. Well, I finally finished this project, and I must say, if you're looking to test your own patience, just find a neglected piece of painted furniture in the thrift store and try to restore it. I was pleased with the final outcome, but there were still some disappointments, like with many past endeavors. After dedicating significant time and effort to any project, it can be disheartening when the final result doesn't always align with our initial expectations. I've slowly learned by embracing imperfections throughout the process, I can ensure that each restored piece retains a part of its unique history. And above all, my hope is that others will be encouraged to take on their own projects. Ultimately, it's through these experiences that we find growth, resilience, and a renewed optimism for what lies ahead. My name is Barry, and thank you for joining me. Goodbye for now.